Well, we'll get more now on today's developments, and there is a little bit of breaking news on the websites because the House of Commons Information Service have posted an update on what's going on, and that tells us that there has been an application for an emergency debate, European motion withdrawal, submitted under Standing Order 24. If the Speaker is satisfied that the matter is proper to be debated, and leave or assent is given by the House for the debate to take place, the Speaker will announce the timing and length of the debate. If the debate takes place today, the debate may continue for the length given by the Speaker or until 10 p.m, whichever is earlier. And Sir Oliver Letwin, the former Conservative Cabinet Minister, the first name on that submission, followed by Hilary Benn, the former Labour Cabinet Minister, Philip Hammond, David Gauke, Dominic Grieve, Caroline Lucas, Tom Brake, Justin Greening, Nick Bowles, Anna Sumri and Sam Gima, amongst those putting that forward. Now, what that means is that there will have to be a formal ruling from the Speaker later today, and we anticipate that the Speaker will allow that debate to go ahead today. Joining me now is the former Conservative Cabinet Minister, John Whittingdale, a strong advocate of Brexit. And John Whittingdale, we would assume we're going to get this debate today, wouldn't we?
Well, I mean, I think the Speaker has shown at every opportunity so far that he wants to help those in Parliament trying to prevent Brexit, and therefore I anticipate he's likely to grant this afternoon.
I mean, he would say that he simply tried to help Parliament as a whole find something on which it can agree for, which is his job. Do you think he's done anything wrong?
Well, I mean, he has torn up a lot of conventions already, but it is for the Speaker to decide. I'm not going to attack the Speaker now, but I think we all anticipate that he will be granting this afternoon.
I mean, suggestions there might be a plot to push him out after a general election if that happens.
Well, there's a lot of ifs in between.
Would you back those?
Then. Well, I would have thought that once a general election has happened and once Brexit has happened, and I hope that those two things will happen pretty much simultaneously if a general election is necessary, then I would expect him to stand aside anyway.
Also a suggestion that convention might be broken with Conservative candidates standing against him in Buckinghamshire. Would you support that?
Well, that's a matter for the party, both locally and nationally.
So what's your view, though?
Well, I mean, I do think that John Bercow has been in the chair a very long time, and I would be surprised, actually, if he intended to go on to serve for another term after an election. He said that he was going to leave a year ago, but that's not a debate for today.
Do you think we are heading towards an early general election, a general election this year, this autumn?
Well, it is very difficult for a government to continue in office with a majority of one, indeed actually a minority propped up by a partner which only gives a majority of one, and that's before you even get to the Brexit argument. If the government loses the votes later today and during this week, then I think it is very difficult to see how we can avoid a general election.
Except you might lose the vote for a general election. I mean, the Fixed Term Parliament Act, you can't just order it, can you?
Well, under the Fixed Term Parliament Act, it needs a two-thirds majority or a vote of confidence. And we are into untested water. I don't know what happens if the Prime Minister asks for a general election and if Parliament doesn't provide the required two-thirds majority. Can Parliament force the Prime Minister to continue when he wants to take his case to the country?
Now, Philip Hammond, one of those names on the list there putting forward this motion today. Are you really comfortable with the idea of kicking out from the Conservative Party someone like Philip Hammond, who has clearly served it for so long as a senior minister in many roles?
Look, it has always been the case that if a vote of confidence is held, then Conservative Party members of Parliament have to support the government, if it's a Conservative government, if they wish to retain the whip.
But this is not a vote of confidence today.
Well, then it may not apply. I don't know whether it's going to apply about this vote this afternoon.
The threat has been if they back this amendment.
As I understand it, it will be the critical vote, which would be a vote of confidence in the government, then that would result in withdrawal.
So you don't think backing this motion today will lead to withdrawal of the whip and expulsion?
Well, that's not a matter for me, it's a matter of a whip. But I'd be surprised, actually. I think the critical vote will be the one on the bill which will try to prevent us leaving on the 31st
That'll be tomorrow.
October. Possibly tomorrow, who knows. But it is also impossible to imagine how any Conservative candidate can stand for election fundamentally opposed to the policy of the Conservative Party. How can voters in their constituency vote in support of the government if their candidate doesn't support the government? So that is why.
Well, that will depend on what the manifesto is. I mean, currently, they would argue, Mr. Hammond and Ken Clarke and others would argue that their position is entirely in keeping with the 2017 manifesto, which is the one that applies to this Parliament.
Well, the 2017 manifesto said we would deliver Brexit, but the 19 manifesto, if there is going to be such a thing, I have no doubt will make it clear that we are going to leave on the 31st of October, and all Conservative candidates will be expected to support that.
Perhaps they won't bother with a manifesto like the Brexit Party.
I think there will be a manifesto, and I think it will be absolutely clear on that point.
But I come back to this. I mean, you would surely view someone like Philip Hammond, someone like Kenneth Clarke, as a loyal Conservative who's done some service to the party, or do you think the party has evolved in a way that they don't fit anymore?
Well, Kenneth Clarke is not standing, we understand, at this coming election. He said that he doesn't intend to contest it. Philip Hammond, I think, would like to contest it, but it does require, however long your service, it does require you to sign up to the basic policy of the party on which you are for which you are standing. Otherwise, voters in that constituency can't vote for the party if their candidate doesn't support the policies.
Do you believe Boris Johnson seriously wants to get a deal, and is he asking for the moon, or is he actually asking for something that he can obtain?
I think he does want a deal. I think he really does believe that he can get a deal. But the appeal he made to us yesterday was that by excluding the possibility of no deal, it actually makes it far harder to get a good deal. And I think most of us fully understand that. I think part of the mistake before was that nobody actually thought Theresa May was willing to walk away without a deal. And for that reason, they didn't take our negotiating position seriously.
OK, John Whittingdale, thank you very much indeed. Well, some lines emerging from the briefing for journalists by the Prime Minister's official spokesman this morning. Mr Johnson says the bill to seize control of parliamentary business would force the government to accept EU terms for an extension. It is a blueprint for legislative purgatory, the spokesman said. The Prime Minister's mood is determined. He wants to get on with delivering the referendum result.